Alrighty, testing 1, 2, 3. Audio is good. Hey everyone, hope you guys are all having a wonderful day today. Bitcoin's been popping off a little bit. We talked about this last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say. And you are going to see a lot of volatility no matter what happens over the next 24 to 36 hours. So we're going to be talking about all that, going over some news on X here, what's happening with altcoins, because some of these altcoins popped off over 20% today, and things are moving fast all of a sudden. Now, again, tomorrow we really do have some uncertainty / clarity happening here with the announcement of what these tariffs that are going to be launched for our, I forget the day that Trump said, like Retribution Day or something like that. But long story short, get ready for a lot of volatility. That's the focus of today's video. We're going to be watching a few videos, going over a little bit of news here, and then just kind of figuring out what could happen with these tariffs and what it means for some of the technical analysis, because we've had our first pop. Will the pop continue? We don't exactly know, but as far as I'm concerned right now, there's definitely a good chance if we have some good clarity. And by clarity, I think I want to say what Trump announces tomorrow is not as bad as all the stuff he's been hyping up. So it would be tariff light is what we're looking for tomorrow. And if we get that, then I think the market can have another sustained little pop here. If it's not a dovish type of tariff environment and tariffs are just as bad as he said, you might see Bitcoin come right back down to where we were just a couple days ago, right? So I'm sitting back a little bit further here today, partially because my computer is loud and I was kind of running some testing today, and you guys can subtly hear the computer because it's right there as I wait for my new one. So tonight I'm going to move my computer around a little bit and see if I can get it away from my microphone so I don't have to do this. But for today, I'm going to be leaning back just a little bit more, and we'll see how this works out, okay? So happy to see all of you guys here. Let me shorten some stuff up on my end right there. Hey Striker, hey Haram, hey 88 Chrome Dome, and hey Mark. Happy to see all of you guys here. All right, so let's kind of just dive in here. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and I love all of it at this point. So, from a technical analysis perspective, we know that the weekly charts have been bearish for a minute here. Nothing really new about that. The daily charts have been bullish and bearish and kind of going, what did I call it, choppy, right? Where you're seeing the change of character be bearish, the MACD is bullish, the stochastic is bearish, and the RSI is bullish. That's a lot of back and forth. That's a lot of stuff that, makes you not really want to be doing too much trading here. However, what I like to talk about, and I don't think enough people talk about it, especially in the technical analysis niche on YouTube, is the fact that moving averages cause a lot more volatility. And today, with the pump that we saw Bitcoin have, it was only a couple $1,000, maybe close to 3,000 by the end of the day. Because we had to break back above that 20-day moving average, you saw Bitcoin have a nice pop. Now, here's the kicker. Here's where you guys might be very excited or very concerned. And both, again, it's going to be hard for me to say which way we're going to go because, again, we don't exactly know how bad these tariffs are going to be. We're going to watch a few videos from CNBC. I have them all loaded up here. 1, 2, 3. It's all black because the first second hasn't rolled yet, but they're there. We just closed at about 85,000 bucks today, okay? What's below us? A 20-day moving average. What's above us? A 200 daily moving average, and what's above that is a 50-day moving average. So, if I'm looking at this the way I want to look at it, which is typically how I do this, if we have a bad day because of tariffs, well, you know what? Bitcoin's going to come all the way back down to like 82,500 bucks. We'll lose a couple $1,000 and it won't be pretty at all. On the other side, if tariffs aren't as bad as we think, we could see Bitcoin go as high as probably 88,000 bucks, which would be another $3,000 gain for today. So I think we're probably going to slow down here with some smaller movements for sure over the next few hours. But once we start seeing more news coming out tomorrow morning, probably around market open if we're lucky, that's when you're going to see Bitcoin either have a nice big pop, again, up to that moving average around 88,000 bucks, or all the way back down here to support, which is going to be around $82,000. For me right now, because it seems like Donald Trump's been more backtracking than like going full forward when it comes to tariffs, I've been a little bit more lenient as far as saying, okay, I don't think it's going to be that bad. So my how I think about the market is, oh, it's not going to be that bad. We'll be fine. That's how I've been thinking about it. Tomorrow, I'm going to have clarity if I was wrong. You guys are going to have clarity if I was wrong or you guys were wrong about all of our individual thoughts here. But we got a little bit of resistance up here with the Fibonacci, not Fibonacci, excuse me, just your basic standard level of resistance. And then, of course, right up here, we got the 50. We could always wick up higher, but I don't think we're going to get above 88,784. Okay? I'm wishing us the best on that one. But as far as I can see right now, it's definitely going to be a little bit iffy tomorrow. I was actually going over here to the 4-hour chart earlier, and you can see the 4-hour chart's been bullish since about 5 a.m. this morning. Again, that kind of ends off, 9? Yeah, that's during the market open. We've talked about that before. That's the best time to be trading. We've had a little bit of volatility over here on 5 o'clock in the morning this morning. Excuse me, this must be, yeah, this is Monday morning. Sorry, this is this morning. However, you can see a lot of volatility with these moving averages as well. So we're above these moving averages right now. There's no real moving averages that I care about above this. All we have to worry about now is what happens on those daily moving averages. The 4-hour moving averages, we're all above it. We're going to see probably a golden cross between the 20 and the 200 here, the 20 and the 50. Also, at the same time, we're going to have a death cross here between the 50 and the 200. I just see a lot more volatility coming on board. You see Bitcoin right now trying to have a breakout, but I wanted to show you guys this because, again, we also have some resistance coming up here. And, you know, the more I look at this, actually, I could definitely see a shakeout happening before we have a morning pop. So, something like that. And I only say that because of that death cross right there. But what happened the last time we had a death cross? Was it anything crazy? No, it wasn't. No, just a little bit of a volatility down, but not really much here. This one, a slight move down. Nothing catastrophic, actually, so I might not pay too much attention besides the fact that we like to have some volatility around those moments. Another thing here, let me pause this right here. We can get rid of this one for now. And the scheme of things, we're still not out of the woods. We're still not looking at anything very crazy or good right now. I think what we're trying to figure out right now is, are we bottoming out? And if we are bottoming out, should you guys be buying Bitcoin? Should you guys be buying Ethereum and other assets out there? Because, again, Ethereum, you think Bitcoin's bad. Everybody's complaining about Bitcoin. Ethereum has gotten hit a lot worse than Bitcoin. Look at that nasty move by Ethereum right here. Now, Ethereum's hit support right now, which is why I bought some. It took a while to get down here, though. Solana at support, just like everything else. I can get rid of some of these lines for now. We're not going to get into contact with that for a minute. But, see right here, nice little trend. Solana's at support. Dogecoin not at support yet, but it is bouncing off moving averages. We don't. Trump is too new. Sheeb coming back down quite a bit. Pepe coming down quite a bit into support, breaking down like we talked about before. Again, this is the same type of pattern we saw with Bitcoin here, actually, and both are pretty bearish. The only thing I think about this one was the weekly chart gave us the heads up beforehand, didn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well before the breakdown. Actually, well before the breakdown. But again, so we got some good stuff here. Overall, you can see the market trying to figure itself out, trying to bounce around a little bit. We're still bearish, unfortunately, as of now. I just think with these tariffs coming out, there's more of an opportunity here for Bitcoin to get squeezed over the next few weeks, if not months, because we got the moving averages coming like this here. Give it until May when we have rate cuts and stuff like that. We should have a nice pop as soon as we start to have cuts, and that should be a big boom type of move. But right now, as far as April is concerned, because it is April 1st, April Fool's Day, happy April Fools. I'm more just concerned about what's going to happen with all these tariffs, because that's everybody. Yeah, I'm talking too fast. That's what everybody's been talking about here. Now, I went on to X. There's not really much news coming on as far as X as I see. Cory Booker's doing some stuff. April Fools, WWE, Warren, I believe, Bitcoin. There you go. Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. are launching American Bitcoin, aiming to become the largest Bitcoin miner and build a Bitcoin reserve. The Trumps believe in Bitcoin, right? That was some news, I guess, today. Don't be a fool, buy Bitcoin, right? Nothing too much happening in our neck of the woods, right? I would say our neck of the woods as far as cryptocurrency and that type of stuff. Personally, do I care that much about them making a Bitcoin mining? Not so much. I would say for me personally, guys, it's more of saying, hey, they have an interest in making Bitcoin go higher now. They have an interest in it. But as far as the tariff news, right? This is March 31st. That's old. Israel has removed all tariffs on the American products. That's crazy right there. China, Japan, and South Korea agreed to closely cooperate in response to U.S. tariffs. Anyone with half a brain and basic understanding of the knowledge could see that Trump's relentless attacks on our allies will only isolate America and strengthen China. Right? So those back and forths all the way through. Vietnam to cut tariffs on American products to avoid President Trump's reciprocal tariffs. You're going to find your scary moments from this, and you're like, damn, actually some countries are capitulating to this, right? It's going to happen back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that's going to be good, because if we can make some products that they need or some services that they need, I'm sure we'll be able to get some jobs out of it, of course. What type of jobs? Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. Fun fact here for today, though. EOS is up 12%, Bonk went up 10, Render went up 9, ENA went up 7, CRV went up 6, Mako went up 6.5, Pepe went up 5.5. So we've had some nice moves here today. Last 7 days, we've had a little bit of progress. Last 30 days, we have Forum, Chronos, Ton, Tether Gold, Pax Gold, Curved out token. Yeah, gold is gold. It's been going up quite a bit, but I think we're looking okay, guys. As far as the tariffs go, though, probably best to do this. And right here. Oh, it's right here. There you go. And hey, MZeckers, you're short from 85.40. Good luck, my man. It's going to be a volatile day tomorrow. Hi, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. Looking forward to getting beyond 4.2. Yeah, everybody is, man. Everybody. Will 4.2 be a solid news event? Are the lows earned already? I think we have a good chance of having already bottomed. My main concern is the technicals say it looks like we're almost finished bottoming out. Technicals only get you so far, because what's basically happening is Trump has been talking about tariffs. We're all looking at tariffs for tomorrow. And the point I was trying to make yesterday, although maybe I didn't make it too well because I am just too energetic. I don't know why. I need to go for a walk or something. Or I just need to get ADHD medication, probably that. We don't know exactly what those tariffs mean. We don't exactly know how much of a tariff he's going to be putting on Japan versus South Korea versus the EU versus an African country versus the UK versus Canada versus Mexico versus Chile versus El Salvador. All right, we just don't know. That being said, when Trump and his team lays out everything about tariffs tomorrow, we'll be like, oh, okay, so this is how much he's going to be going after Europe. This is how much he's going after Canada. This is how much he's going after China. This is how much he's going after Japan. And once we kind of have that, we can see if it's really going to be really bad or if it's just not that bad at all. Now, the point I'm trying to make along with this is, from a trader's perspective and a technical analysis perspective, what we're seeing is Bitcoin surrounded by a bunch of moving averages. So on the weekly chart, we're still far enough where we don't have to worry about it from a day-to-day perspective. But the high I see for Bitcoin right now is probably around 89,000, and the low is probably just around here, maybe around like 76,000 at worst, maybe 72,000. Okay, but not too much to be concerned about here. The daily chart, you see how we're around all these moving averages. These moving averages traditionally mean a lot more volatility. And this volatility means that we could easily just come all the way back down like we did back over here, right? Breaking above the moving averages, came right back down, broke above a moving average, came right back down. This can definitely happen tomorrow. It can be very seismic. So that's one thing as far as these moving averages. On the 4-hour chart, there's also moving averages that we're clustering right here as well, right? And during these times, you're going to see a little bit more of a volatility bump, if you will, right? Now, 4 hours not as important as the daily, but it does usually matter. And right now, you can see that we have some momentum on the double click. There we go. We have some momentum on the 4-hour chart. That momentum is trying to push us up here as long as we're able to get support back up here to $87,000, $88,000. However, if we look at it from here, that's going to push us back above the 200 daily moving average and close to the 50. So it might be one big pop, hit resistance, and then come back down until tomorrow. It's going to be just very, very, very volatile. It's going to be very, very scary for the average investor who hasn't been through something like this before. I would say no. Most of you guys have been through this type of stuff before. But on the other side here, if we get another tweet, some bad news or something like that, it'll just come down here very fast as well. If you go over here, look at the 5-minute chart very fast. This is like what it means to like move through moving averages. That's the type of volatility. Doesn't look that crazy on maybe a 4-hour chart, but when you see actually how fast everything was moving, you know, it's worth it to just kind of have an idea of where your 20, 50, and 200 moving averages are. There are other ones that people use as well. I've always preferred just going with the 20, 50, and 200 SMAs, the simple moving averages. But I mean, people like to just do the DMAs or the TMAs or exponential moving averages and stuff like that, right? There we go. But I mean, as of now, it looks okay. You know, I'm not too concerned with it. We're seeing altcoins make some nice moves today as well. There were still altcoins that didn't do too hot. So Dexy went down 25% today. IP went down 7%. Cake went down 3%. Form went down 3%. So not everything had a great day, but as far as I care, oops, sorry, I meant to do number market cap. There we go. You know, Bitcoin went up, Ethereum went up, XRP went up, Solana went up. Those are the higher market cap coins that I own right now, and that's kind of what you're anticipating going up, if anything, while we're in this kind of paused interest rate environment, which kind of sucks, but those are the things you would expect to be going up, and they are, which is great. Most altcoins are not going to be going up for a while here as far as damn. Sorry, my neighbor got his motorcycle out, his like Harley or something out, so he's just been revving it up all day and it's been driving nuts. Anyway, he's a nice guy. Anyway, you know, so we've had some movement there. The higher risk things are the things that aren't really doing so hot. But again, this is a $1.1 billion token, and it's down about 26% last 30 days, but it's also down about 25% today. I don't exactly know why this happened, though. I wonder, was there news or something? Oh, I guess a whale. I'm looking at some of the letters inside. A whale sold some off. If a whale's selling off, that's a scary thing, because why are they selling? Why are they selling? Okay, so, sorry, getting back to this right here. A walk sounded like a better idea. Oh, yeah, I always like a good walk. I'm still getting over my my sprained ankle, so I've been able to walk as much as I've been able to. I've been biking, like stationary biking, but that's it. And hey, Consulting, happy to see my man. And hey, Villa, happy to see you as well. What's right here? The weather actually today in the Northwest has been pretty sunny, so it's been nice. I'm hoping I can spend some more time out here. Later on today, I think I'm going to head to the cigar lounge and chill outside with some friends. I'm not smoking today, but I want to do some short form content with you guys. So like bring out my gimbal, bring out my phone, have it sit in front of me, and just like talk to it, and talk about some news and stuff like that to see if it works. So I'm going to ask my friends for their advice on that one, which would be kind of nice. Okay. So the name of this story is Trump's tariff gambit will raise the stakes for an economy already looking fragile. And we are looking fragile. I think that's probably a good way to talk about it so far. Well, we don't have to actually even go through the keynotes, but let me just read part of it here. President Donald Trump is set Wednesday to begin the biggest gamble of his second term, wagering that broad-based tariffs on imports will jumpstart a new era for the U.S. economy. The stakes couldn't be higher. As the president prepares his Liberation Day, that's what it's called, Liberation Day announcement, household sentiment is at a multi-year low. Consumers worry that the duties will spark another round of painful inflation, and investors are fretting that higher prices will mean lower profits and a tough slog for the battered stock market. What Trump is promising is a new economy not dependent on deficit spending, where Canada, Mexico, China, and Europe no longer take advantage of the U.S. consumer desire for ever cheaper products. The big problem right now is that no one outside the administration quite knows how the goals will be achieved and what will be the price to pay. People always want everything to be done immediately and have to know exactly what's going on, said Joseph Lavorgna, maybe, who served as a senior economic advisor during Trump's first term in office. Negotiations themselves don't work that way. Good things take time. For his part, Lavorgna, who is now chief economist at SMBC Nikko Securities, is optimistic Trump can pull it off, but understands why markets are rattled by this uncertainty, the uncertainty of it all. Right? And I think this is the big part here. This is a negotiation, and it needs to be judged in the fullness of time. So at the end of the day, I think Trump isn't going to be going crazy with tariffs as far as like a long-term type of gambit. I think there are going to be the majority of countries that are like the larger economies. He will hold them to the fire. They're going to give him some stuff and he'll be happy with it. It'll have to be larger chunks though. Apparently that's what it looks like, much more than before. And then unfortunately for some of those countries that maybe try to fight back a little bit too much against Trump, those tariffs can last for a while. There may be some trade, some things going on there that could really cripple their economies. While ours maybe limps along for a little bit, I think overall we should be okay. All right, there we go over here. So there's 3 videos I wanted to watch with you guys. First one is going to be this one right here. Let's go over here. There you go. First one is the fast money traders talk tariff deadline looming. The second video is going to be about impact of tariffs already showing up in the economy, right? So we can talk about the interest rates. And the last one is pollster Frank Luntz on the American sentiment towards Trump point to economic policies. This one is a little bit more political, but I think it helps us understand how much wiggle room Trump thinks he has as far as how long does he want to have this tariff battle. Because I know he wish it would get over soon, but like it's not going to be over for a hot minute, right? It's going to take probably a month for some of those larger economies, which I mean, it's a month. That's a whole month in the market of market going crazy and stuff, right? So let's go over here very fast and make sure my audio is all good. Let me have a sip of water and I'll push play here, and the audio is all working too. Nobody ever drinks enough ice water, but you should. Or just regular water. All right, here we go.
So everything is on the table. We don't know anything right now. With that said, I'm going to ask a very unfair...
There you go. Everything's on the table. We have no idea. That's exactly where we are. But tomorrow we will have an idea.
Question of Guy Adami, and that is, what do you think what do you think happens tomorrow? In other words, have we priced in peak uncertainty around the tariffs, and so it is to the upside tomorrow?
I think it's a fair question. I think the answer is yes. Now, it's the third time we've traded down to sort of this 5,500 level, which seemingly is, for whatever reason, a bit of a line in the sand. You had the bounce yesterday. You had the bounce today. I think that's encouraging. I don't think my instinct suggests he's not going to do something more onerous than the market has believed. I think he wants to do something down the middle, which will provide a bit of a relief rally. I think it's going to be short-lived. I'll say this as well. I think the bond market sells off on the back of that. Potentially gold, we'll see. But I think the stock market could rally on the back of that for sure.
And again, to your point about the worst case scenarios, I think what they're trying to do right now is create a scenario where there's a base case, there's a worst case, and there's a case that's better than expected. And so I think the market reaction, we've dealt with a lot of this volatility given the uncertainty, and I think the market might really appreciate a bit of certainty about how this goes. But I don't think that guarantees any certainty, because I think that they're trying to get these other countries to the negotiating table, right? And let's just see how they respond to, these different cases. And, I think about this, and we just heard they're going to start collecting immediately. They're not collecting from these companies. They're collecting from U.S. companies that are purchasing these goods from overseas, right? And then the companies have a decision whether they want to eat the difference or raise the prices and pass it through to consumers, which might result in less sales, right? And so you think about this. We just got done with Q.
And also, you got to think about it this way as well. If they do raise prices, that could be called, that would show up in inflation data. And if they decide to raise prices, that also means that Jerome Powell may be forced, and I'm saying a big maybe here, to not cut rates this year at all, or in the worst case scenario, having to raise rates again, which he would never do because that would tip us into a recession. But just a little bit of a point there.
One, and that's kind of baked in the cake. We saw some of the consumer data. We saw some of the business confidence data, that sort of thing. So that's going to be in Q1 earnings. The Q2 guidance could just be horrible if you think about it. The lack of clarity in even how they quantify what the consumer is going to do in response to these tariffs. So to me, that's where you get back to this uncertainty. That's why you probably have 5,500 to the downside going to 5,400, maybe 5,200.
I agree on the uncertainty. We'll have some certainty on some things,
Sure.
maybe, but then to the response to that, we won't have certainty there either. So when you say markets were bracing, yeah, really like feeling like just waiting to get hit,
Right.
from some side or the other. And I think markets hate uncertainty more than they hate bad news, and so it doesn't feel great to. I mean, yes, we'll have some news tomorrow, a lot of news tomorrow. But I think it's going to take us a while to process it. I agree. We'll see some customers or some, the Home Depots of the world. They're powerful. They can negotiate prices with whoever their vendors might be. Some others can't. We'll see. It's going to be difficult to implement immediately too.
Right. The other side of the uncertainty is.
All right. They also bring up a good point here about some of the uncertainty that I didn't even talk about, and that's the uncertainty of what happens to how other countries, I guess, respond to what America does. So let's say we put a tariff on South Korea. What does South Korea do in response to that? Where do they tariff? I think for us, people generally believe, and I'm in this camp too because of what we've seen over the past few months from a couple of these tariffs already, the easiest way to punish Trump for putting tariffs against your nation is to put up tariffs that don't address the tariffs that Trump is putting on you, but instead putting tariffs on things where they are made and produced in a red state that voted for Donald Trump during this last election, or a purple state that has voted for him in the past. So these are states like Texas, Wyoming, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Florida. Goods that are made there, they're going to tariff those goods to make sure that the people that run those businesses, they're feeling the pain. The workers in those businesses feel the pain, whereas, maybe some countries wouldn't go after that way. But because we're a democracy and we have elections, well, they're attacking the political, the politics of it all, which is kind of interesting.
The 10-year yield going below 4.15% today. That was an interesting move as well, Katie.
Yeah, we've seen yields really kind of pivot alongside the dollar, and that comes with the new administration. So it was a change in trend that we didn't really anticipate, but now we have long-term shifts in, say, the stochastic oscillator, things like that, that are suggesting that we...
See, she brought up stochastic oscillator. People do use it, they just don't talk about it.
We'll see yields come in even further, maybe even sub-4 before we come out of this. And I would agree on the relief of uncertainty. The S&P 500 does have support around 5480. The secondary support below that's about 5% below. So usually when you get that first oversold, which is what we have on a weekly bar chart of the S&P, you get a rebound, short-lived, I agree with that term, and the retest can be pretty severe, taking out the recent low, and that becomes your intermediate term entry.
Right. The little bit that Megan had mentioned in terms of revoking the de minimis loophole, that's really interesting because that's what retailers have had to deal with. So, I mean,
yes.
How can you compete against a $5
right.
swimming suit coming from China for free shipping?
Yeah, no, this is good for Amazon. It's good for Etsy.
Target, I would Kohl's.
For Target,
any sort of lower price good.
Yes.
Okay, that last little part wasn't anything important, but just something interesting I thought you guys might want to know more about. The next one here is basically the impact of tariffs, and then we're going to go through the politics of it all. This one right here, I just pulled it up a few seconds ago. April earnings will be a bottom clearing event. I just want to hear about this a little bit more, and then if you guys have any questions, feel free to, we'll see how they go. And if you guys have any questions or things like that, please make sure to comment. I don't know how to get you guys to comment on the chat. I know I'm not the most crazy person on crypto. I'm more of like a teacher guy, but still, any comment helps, any emoji helps, and if you guys can, please consider liking the stream because I think it helps with the algorithm as well. So, before I get started, hey Bob, bro, these are reciprocal. These places already have tariffs enough, so that's why they're going to get tariffs now because our previous leaders made bad deals. Trust me, dude. I completely understand that, but think about it like this. They have tariffs on us. We already have some tariffs on them. We're putting more tariffs on them to make it reciprocal, right? Which I totally get. I totally understand why he's doing it. However, they're not just going to say, oh, my God, Trump put tariffs on us. What are we ever going to do? No, they're going to go, hey, we're going to put tariffs on you. And we're not going to put tariffs on the stuff made in Washington State or California or Oregon. We're going to go after those red states because we know that you need them for elections. And historically, the ones that have given us the best deals have been Democrats. So we want to make sure Democrats get back control. So why not make Republicans very mad at their leaders by showing, by making the economy worse for them? Does that make sense? It's one of the downsides of democracy. It can be gamed in so many different ways. I completely understand where you're coming from. It's just that they're going to fight back because it's now the norm. They think they've earned it. They think they deserve it, right? And we never, we waited too long to do this, right? We just waited too long. So now there's going to be pain involved with doing all of this. And hey, Lisa, happy to see you very fast. And hey, Jerry Mark, happy to see you as well. And hey, Mo, appreciate you guys.
Let's get to today's market action with Vital Knowledge founder Adam Crisafulli and Crossmark Global Investments CEO and CIO Bob Dahl. Great to have you both here. Adam, I'm going to kick this off with you because it was another ping pong day for the major averages. We did finish here mixed. It looks like the S&P up fractionally, maybe 56.33 as we shake out here. The NASDAQ higher, but the Dow ever so slightly lower. What are you watching? Is everything just sort of hinging on tariffs and news we get out of the White House come 24 hours from now?
I mean, I think so, but I could be wrong.
Yes, obviously the tariff details are going to be crucial. But I think over the last several weeks and months, as we've been debating tariffs and as we've seen some tariffs get put in place and others get rescinded, the economy is already responding to it. And we saw that today in some of the data, specifically manufacturing ISM, where you definitely are noticing a pullback in growth. You're seeing a firming of inflation. And so, I think while we should be focused on tariffs and tomorrow will be very important, the economy is already responding to it. And I think that's kind of the real disconnect. In the immediate term, it could very well be the case that tomorrow afternoon is a relief for about 24 to 48 hours. Then the focus will shift immediately back to the economy. And then, we're just a week and a half away from the start of earnings season. And it's likely companies are going to sound a little bit more cautious than they did a few months ago on the January Q4 call. So, I think there's two important themes occurring in the market right now.
All right. Want to get your thoughts on this, Bob, especially as we've seen Treasury yields continue to move lower. We've had
that kind of sound like a whole bunch of nothing, but Treasury yields are at least something more important to listen to.
Big rally in the bond market in recent days, in recent weeks. You had the Fed's Tom Barkin saying on CNBC yesterday and then making further comments this morning that he sees the bond market as pricing in a rising risk of recession after basically hinting at a rising risk of stagflation in his comments on CNBC yesterday. How do you see what's happening there, and how much are equities poised to take their cue from what we're seeing in treasuries?
Well, I think the liquidity bazooka, as we've called it, has helped push rates down. But I firmly agree with Adam. There are two things going on here. One is we are at maximum uncertainty. Hopefully.
There you go. Maximum uncertainty. I haven't heard that phrase before, but I think from here on out, we get more uncertainty. It may not be much more certainty, but we get more of it. Tomorrow, we're going to figure out, okay, here's what America is going to be doing to the rest of the world as far as tariffs, right? And then you see what the rest of the world does back. That's even more certainty. Once we kind of figure that out, then we're like, okay, this isn't that bad, or oh shit, this is really, really bad. So we'll have some options here. Let's listen to number 2 on his list.
Hopefully tomorrow afternoon, there's a little less uncertainty. That's good news. But the problem is the uncertainty is cause people to pull their horns back in. That's part of why bond yields have moved down and why equities have moved down and why people are concerned that earnings risk is in front of us. And therefore, that's the other shoe that's going to drop. So let's hope we get less uncertainty after 24 hours from now so that we can pit that against this inevitably slowing economy.
Speaking of uncertainty, Adam, you've got 3 tariff scenarios. Your base case is 15 to 20% on nearly all imports, and then there's a slightly.
Geez, 15 to 20% all imports. This is my confusion part. They keep on saying this type of stuff, and this is not just this Wall Street guy, a bunch of Wall Street guys. But the way Trump has framed it is reciprocal, right? So if they have a 5% tariff against us, we put a 5% tariff against them. They have a 10% tariff. Does that make sense? You know, back and forth, back and forth.
Better and then a worse. But to what degree are you pricing in escalations after this announcement? And do you think the market is?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot will come down to the details. So are they all going to be implemented immediately? The White House today suggested that you will see immediate implementation. Is there a period of negotiation? If Trump sounds very open to holding negotiations in the coming weeks and months, perhaps you see other countries withhold their immediate retaliatory actions. But definitely, retaliation is going to be, a huge risk to all this. So I do think in the immediate term, a lot of the press recently, the preview articles have been quite negative. And so you might see a brief relief. But, the tariff agenda that's being pursued is very aggressive. And at the least, you're going to see a near and medium term hit to the economy, downside on growth and then upside on inflation. And that's going to be a real risk for equities over the coming months and quarters.
And then, Bob, in the longer term, investors seem to perhaps be assuming that demand in the U.S. remains strong post-tariff. But it's unclear to me how many manufacturers are going to be willing to make a decades-long manufacturing commitment in the U.S. if the
We have seen companies say they're going to do more investing, but they're not going to stop investing in other countries. They're just also going to be having places here where they build out different equipment, maybe part of equipment, and then mixes up across the border, comes back around a couple times, and all of a sudden they don't have to pay tariffs. They're probably paying for that type of right to do that. One thing though here, guys, which I think is pretty interesting, there is going to be waves of this. So we have tariffs from other countries, they have tariffs on us. We're launching tariffs, they're going to launch back, and Trump will not will say, hey, if you're going to come back at us, we're going to come back at you. Let's fight. And again, the point that I also want to stress here is that America has a much stronger economy than a lot of other countries. I think our issue is we're just attacking too many people at once. Go after Europe all at once, like go hard, hit them hard, like really freaking hard. Make them capitulate and be done with it. Then go after our Asian allies, which I think we should be a little bit softer on, like Japan, South Korea, hard, just not as hard. And then let's figure out what happens there. Then, of course, Canada, Mexico, that stuff could work out. But I think I'd rather do it one at a time. I'm thinking he's assuming this is going to take longer than I would, because I would hit Europe hard, like really freaking hard. But we'll see.
U.S. consumer weakens. I mean, might they decide to just kind of wait out the Trump years and see if the next president has a change of heart?
Hopefully it doesn't last that long. The consumer is definitely pulling in their horns already. You see that in the sentiment numbers and the spending numbers and the jobs numbers. So we've got to get past this period. Look, the hope is that we're taking the pain now, tariffs, and the gain, deregulation and tax cuts, are next down the road. I wish it were that simple, but that's what the administration seems to be pinning their hopes on.
That is actually, there's a fair point. We don't really have much as far as deregulation that I've been seeing happening. Maybe it's happening in the background here, but they should pass a nice little bill. I think the Senate and the House are working on a bill right now that should get passed, but it's gonna take some time, as it always does, which is really stupid. All right. So this next part of the video is just going to be about pollster Frank Luntz on American sentiment towards Trump 2.0 economic policies. Frank Luntz is like a conservative, but kind of like a Democrat. He's an anti-Trump conservative, so he's very interesting. But the way he phrases things may irritate you, I think, because he tries to act very sad about stuff, which I think is an act, but I'm not entirely sure. But we'll hear him out. He does have a lot of experience polling, which I do, I do tend to rely on his type of polling data and things like that.
How would you assess the odds of the Republicans being able to push that major legislation, that budget bill, across the finish line?
The public is looking for a single principle. That principle is results. They don't understand any of these details. They don't understand the difference between the Senate and the House in taking a different strategy. To them, it's quite simple. Accountability, efficiency, effectiveness, and that Washington hasn't done it. But there's a big caveat. They want these cuts. They want government to be more effective. They don't want it to come at the expense of a program like Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. They absolutely want action right now, and that's another key word, but action that's indiscriminate, action that is unclear and unfocused is not what the public is looking for.
Okay, here's something right here. Now, you kind of heard that first part about, maybe giving them some leeway and stuff like that, what the American public wants, but look at this. Voter reaction to tariffs. Voters will back tariffs to level the playing field if America is not treated fairly in all areas of trade. But in general, they do not want them because they believe tariffs will increase prices on everything they buy. Voters are more price sensitive now than any time in my lifetime.
Let me assert one key finding. In the sessions that we're doing with Democrats and Republicans, the agenda overall has significant public support. But the way it's being executed and the language that's being used to push it does not. And it's alienating people who would otherwise support the president. In the end, Donald Trump won not by traditional Republican votes, by union members, Latinos, some younger voters who had been voting Democrat in the past and switched because they saw that his administration was going to take real action right now. They applaud that, but they don't applaud the specifics. They don't applaud the way it's being implemented. And that's why I can't tell you where America will be 30 days from now, because I don't know where the administration is going to be 30 days from now.
Exactly. And it was interesting, the CBS YouGov poll that finds his broad support is still at 50%, but his support
at 50% for Trump is wild if you know his history with polling. Again, he feels emboldened and he feels like he has the room to continue doing this for a while. So when we see what happens to the market tomorrow, it's going to be wild.
On the economy has fallen, as support on kind of inflation and tariffs obviously isn't there. On some other policies, it is more positive. So it doesn't sound like the president, though, is backing down from the approach he's taken so far.
And they want him to push, but they want him to push the right way. And tariffs is a great example. The public does not want America to be mistreated. They do not want this unlevel playing field. And so if countries are shown to be taking advantage of the American consumer, taking advantage of the American worker, the public says, push them. Absolutely go ahead. But generically, if there isn't that kind of pressure, the public would say, I can't afford it. I can't afford higher prices. I can't afford to pay these tariffs. And we're going to see this specifically is in auto sales. We know that there's been a massive increase recently because they're afraid that the cost of their car is going to be more. Food, fuel, housing, healthcare, and travel. Those are the items that the public cares about most. Your viewers at CNBC care about it as well.
Yeah.
And the president has to be able to communicate why his policies will make those prices less expensive by the end of the year.
You got any kind of up to the...
That is kind of interesting, but I'm curious what you guys think about this so far. Are you guys more of the fan of, hey, Trump used tariffs, or hey, Trump used tariffs, but I don't like the way you're doing it? Or are you in the camp of saying, don't use tariffs at all, I don't want any of my prices to go up? Let me know. You guys don't have to, but I'd appreciate if you do. I am curious just how the chat usually evolves around this type of stuff, because I'm more of, sure, use tariffs, but like doing it in a different way. That's my opinion as far as right now.
The minute info on these Florida seats. It's in Wisconsin, where is it the Wisconsin Supreme Court election that Musk is deeply involved in? That a lot of these are seen as barometers, even though it's so early, of how much political momentum the GOP and the Democrats have.
There is so much money in these races. It's almost unseemly how many millions of dollars are pouring in from out of state. Those two Florida races will end up in the Republican camp, but it'll be a little bit closer than the last election. So watch the comparison to how they voted the last time versus how they vote tonight. Wisconsin is simply too close to call because Wisconsin, the state, and that district, and that constituency is evenly divided. Wisconsin is what I'm going to be watching for tonight.
Well, there you go. Now, I'm sure there's some election stuff going on right now, but I don't know if I can find it. WWE, Cory Booker, Johnson & Johnson, just Johnson. Kid Rock playing President FDR's grand piano gifted by Steinway family 1938 at the website. Damn. Patterson. I'm so confused at what happened. Oh, okay, I see the house is done for the week. Okay. Spartacus, Luna. No, I don't see anything about Wisconsin. Maybe it's just too late. It's 6 o'clock. Maybe they don't finish off for a minute here, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see right here. And this is just the last video here. April earnings could be the bottom clearing event, says Trevante's Adam Parker. This is what I'm really hoping for here, because typically Bitcoin will bottom out before the stock market. So you can see Bitcoin's price action right here over the last few days and weeks. But look at Ethereum's, much more painful, right? But Bitcoin, Dow Jones was pretty violent too. NASDAQ, pretty violent. SPY, pretty violent. Russell 2000, pretty violent. Russell 2000 is like a freaking altcoin in this type of market environment. But let me just show you this very fast. So if we go from the high to the low of this past few weeks, right? We've seen Bitcoin go down about 30.10%. I'm just going to round to 30% so you guys can see what's happening everywhere else. So 30% for Bitcoin. About, what is that? 9.75% for the Dow Jones. NASDAQ was about 15%. And the SPY probably going to be somewhere in between, right? Around 11% here, right? So Bitcoin's come down a lot more here. But as far as when everything is hitting back to, right? The SPY basically is coming back down to 2024 levels of last September, right? I think ultimately we've been pretty good so far. Go back over here to the weekly chart. Does that still show up? No, it doesn't. Okay, that's fine. All right, we're back to where we were back over here in September. Go back to Bitcoin. We're back to where we were in November. We're above our September prices right now. So Bitcoin is still above. So I think the fact that Bitcoin still has a better uptrend, I think, than the majority of the market here should help us out just a tad bit more. But let's go back over here very fast. Bitcoin's still stagnating here. We're having some issues. Guys, remember we just broke out. We're trying to hold, but it's not really holding all too well. All right, the one last video here, guys, and we'll finish it up for the day. This one's just about earnings, which we don't talk about enough here because we're more Bitcoin focused, but they do have their importance, right? They definitely have their importance here.
Debate in the market. Is this a clearing event tomorrow or not? How would you answer that?
No. No, I don't think it's
You don't think we're going to get enough clarity to let us move past this moment?
I don't think so. I mean, look, I'm still concerned about April earnings season, that a little bit of like the damage is done in terms of, confidence from the consumer. If you're CEO of a company, did you deploy capital? What's happening with inventory and CapEx? Like, I think there's enough uncertainty where I'm really focused on that first 2 weeks of April earnings season. Do I get any negative pre-releases, and or do I get what we all love, which is a stock misses but it doesn't go down? Mm-hmm. And that I don't think we've seen a lot of yet, where a company guides down and the stock stays flat, and then we say, okay, that's the clearing event. I do think that a 5% or plus or minus tariff is in the price for the first half this year. I mean, if you look at the poly market, it's now up at 70%. We're going to have one, and the market's not reacting that badly to that. Mm-hmm. But I think if it starts getting much bigger than that, there's another leg down. So I don't think there could be a one-day clearing event, but I don't think we're out of the woods. The bottom is in for the market by any stretch.
So you say that the damage is done. I guess my question to you, has enough damage been done to the market? S&P's down 10%.
Yeah.
Year to date, NASDAQ has been hit pretty hard. I'm sorry, the NASDAQ's down year to date 10%. The S&P down about 5.
Yeah. I think April earnings could be the bottom, could be the clearing event. If we start seeing a little bit more confidence, then we can start focusing on the next phases, taxes and regulation, and other things that got people excited on election night.
Yeah, the good.
I think that's also a very good point. We just talked about it like a few seconds ago. But if they are able to do some good stuff as far as deregulation, lower taxes, that can be a huge juicing up moment for the economy. And hopefully that juiced up money will end up just coming straight back to the government anyway, because we're going to be having the tariffs. So it may be a nice little swing and a home run if we can get it right here. But here's some of the things here. The S&P risk reward is skewed negative heading into April. high odds of negative pre-releases in the next 2 weeks. Economic expectations and earnings expectations don't match. This is going to be very interesting here. The economy is so-so. Earnings are supposed to be good. So our earnings can come back to the so-so realm of the economy. I think that'll be interesting. But I expect certain sectors to remain strong during all of this tariff talk, right? But let's hear more.
Stuff, all that good stuff.
The good stuff, the pro-growth stuff,
Yeah.
right? But I think right now, when I mean the damage is done, it's in terms of just the Q1 earnings and Q2 guidance. I just don't see how that's skewed to the upside. And until I get any evidence that company guides the revenue down, stock acts okay, I still think we could have a choppy first 10 days to 15 days of earnings season.
I guess my point is, though, isn't that reflected in this market pullback already? In other words, what are they going to tell us at this point that we don't already know? Well, we're seeing a lot of uncertainty among consumers. They're hesitant to spend. You know, we're not really sure where all this is going. You know, wash, rinse, repeat. I've heard that 1,000 times already.
I think in the consumer sector, maybe the bounce you're getting today, ex-Tesla, maybe is a little bit of that. Like, some of those stocks have really been killed. But I'm not so sure with financials or tech, or we've seen a big guide down that, you know, is that gives me a lot of confidence that's in the price. I'm really focused on where are relative estimates more achievable in my mind and rank ordering that. I still think healthcare estimates look more achievable. I think demand's been pretty good. Pricing's pretty good. I think we talked about it on your show last week. I think metals look pretty good. If you look at almost every metal, it's up quarter to date, but we haven't seen any upward revisions. So there could be pockets of things to own where I don't think, you know, relatively better news is in the price. But broadly, I don't see how, I want to buy a business where I think that there's downside to the numbers in the next 2 weeks.
What area of the market did you come in?
Okay, that's about it for that. But yeah, so I do think we're in an interesting spot here, guys. I wish there was more clarity coming our way, but I think we are going to have more clarity, which I think is going to be good. But like I talked to you guys about before, be aware that right now Bitcoin is trying to bounce up and head up towards 88,000 bucks. It may as very well have a big spike down going into tonight, big spike up until tomorrow once we kind of have an idea of what's happening here. But overall, guys, this is just going to be one of those days where you kind of sit on your hands if you don't know what you're doing, or you try to play around with the scalping. But day traders beware, swing traders beware. This is going to be a roller coaster ride tomorrow. But at least we'll have a better idea of what's coming our way. And I'm hopeful that by the time we have our next FOMC meeting and we have our next CPI data release, maybe inflation is down more, which looks like it'll be definitely the case, I think, so far. And then as far as what's the best way to say this? Jerome Powell coming out, he can say, okay, now we know exactly what's getting hit, what sectors are being affected by this. We have some data to kind of confirm everything. We can justify rate cuts this year knowing what we know now. Now, he won't cut this month, of course, but maybe it's like, hey, we were open to cutting here pretty soon, so everybody start buying up stuff. And I think that's probably going to be doing a good thing, right? One more dip coming. Have your dry powder ready? I'm sure everybody has some powder right now based off of how this market's been going. Oh, God. It's been a crazy one. Am I streaming tomorrow morning? I am streaming tomorrow kind of around 11 o'clock my time, maybe 12 o'clock Pacific Coast time. I have to be up in Seattle at 5:30 for a meeting, and then I'm up there for some meet and greet thing. 4:30. I gotta leave here at 3:30. So I may stream from 12 to 1, the last hour of trading day. I'll put out a video as soon as I see what the tariffs are, and then I'll kind of walk you through what I'm looking at. Then we can do a deeper dive once we have news articles, because once we have the news articles, ChatGPT can, you know, go through all that shit and kind of tell us the highlights that we actually supposed to know about. Because when you read stuff together, a lot of you guys just stop watching. I can see a little graph on my chart. When I talk about data and stuff, or I go to CNBC, a lot of you guys just like fade out. And then when I play videos and just talk like this, the views go back up. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I will be streaming tomorrow. It will not be in the afternoon. It'll be in the morning time, maybe middle of the day. Middle of the day I'll be streaming here. So see you guys a little bit later, and thank you guys so much for joining. Sorry about this little background noise. I'm going to try to move my computer around tonight and see if that works. It's just that you know how everything is. I'm not supposed to put my computer back up. I'm having it tilted sideways. So I'm kind of in a weird spot right now where I don't know where to put my computer because of how everything is, but I will figure it out. So see you guys a little bit later, and thanks so much for watching.